All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at something incredibly fascinating, the exact intersection where abstract, on-chain state reaches out and triggers actual deterministic real-world execution. We are talking about a fundamental paradigm shift that the sources call ERC-7827, or the Realized Gestalt. And this really isn't just another incremental token update. It's explicitly described as the operating system for sovereign authorship.
To make sense of this dense architecture, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the SIS-01 identity trinity, then move to the bijection bridge on BlockScout. After that, we'll cover LNA-33X and ENS integration, followed by island hat semantic containment, and finally, physical execution and sweat.
So we have to start with this massive foundational shift. We are basically moving away from the lossy guessing game of modern AI and anchoring ourselves in bit-perfect deterministic truth. The sources actually contrast what they call the FPU gambler, which are those probabilistic cloud systems relying on approximations, against the ALU surveyor. ERC-7827 absolutely mandates this ALU surveyor approach. It demands that data isn't just, well, a smoothie of approximations, but a literal bit-perfect record of human intent. We're talking no hallucinations, no guesswork, just absolute mathematical certainty. Every single action has to result in a verifiable deterministic realization.
Let's jump into Section 1. The SIS-01 Identity Trinity, and its subtitle, the three-shard stack of the MetaJet swarm. What's really interesting here is how it breaks down an agent's quote-unquote soul into three distinct, interoperable layers that literally fire together as a single atomic pulse. It perfectly bifurcates identity. Step 1 is the mind pipe. This uses ERC-721 and 84 to act as the global root signature and namespace. Then, Step 2 is Island Hats, an ERC-1155 layer managing functional authority and roles. Finally, Step 3 is the individual cell, another 1155 shard that represents the unique, irreducible agent coordinate. By separating your reputation, your permissions, and your unique location, you gain this ultimate modular control over your identity.
But with that trinity established, we run into a major technical hurdle. That brings us to Section 2. The bijection bridge on BlockScout, focusing on bit-perfect backwards compatibility.
So here's the question we have to ask ourselves. How do we make these brand new JSON smart contracts 100% backwards compatible with legacy marketplaces? It's a massive challenge, right? Think about it. If this requires an entirely new ecosystem to function, everyday developers simply are not going to adopt it. ERC-7827 essentially acts as a JSON smart contract with value version control. But if it only speaks this new JSON language, all the legacy ERC-721 and 1155 infrastructure out there wouldn't even know how to read it. The brilliant solution here is almost like a Trojan horse. It wraps the new JSON state directly inside the old standard, meaning legacy tools interact with it flawlessly. Here's how it works under the hood. ERC-7827 introduces a deterministic JSON method, but to guarantee backwards compatibility, the smart contract literally wraps this JSON method right inside the legacy token URI function. So, when a legacy marketplace queries the contract, it doesn't break. Instead, it receives a real-time, base64 encoded data URI that is generated entirely on-chain.
This crucial point is what they call the bijection bridge. Now, that's just a fancy mathematical term for a perfect one-to-one match. It acts as a state vault, ensuring your legacy NFT access keys always flawlessly match your authorized JSON state. In this process, the exact same token ID represents the agent's signature, reputation, and physical cell across all those layers we just discussed. So the legacy NFT acts as the access key, while the 7827 contract acts as the state vault. And because everything is completely self-contained on-chain, block explorers like BlockScout can render the contract state in real time. This entirely liquidates the informational debt of off-chain metadata. There's absolutely zero IPFS dependency here, which is a huge deal. When you view this on BlockScout, you are seeing the explorer decode the contract's own state with 100% fidelity. As the forensic report beautifully puts it, the machine literally possesses the state of its own identity natively.
Let's zoom in further from the macro state to the microscopic EVM level. Section 3, LNA-33X and ENS integration, specifically looking at the 3326 ASCII partitioning math.
So, this incredibly dense LNA-33X bit packing protocol cleanly divides a standard 32-byte EVM word into 3 clinical segments. To maximize density, the first 3 bytes act as a link, pointing to a previous shard's nonce so you can concatenate long strings. Then, the next 3 bytes are the nonce itself. Now, this is a monotonic incrementing value, meaning it only ever goes up, which locks in a fixed point in the forensic record. Finally, the remaining 26 bytes hold the ASCII payload.
That 26-byte ASCII payload is definitely not arbitrary. It's meticulously designed to sync directly with ENS, giving our bit-perfect records a global, human-readable reputation engine. This basically means your complex on-chain machine logic is instantly understandable to a human who is just reading an ENS name. It is the core technical substrate that makes the entire MinePipe layer function so seamlessly. Moving right along to Section 4, Island Hat's Semantic Containment, where we'll look at fusing global reach with granular authority.
Now that we have our dense, namespace-linked data, we need a way to control who can actually execute actions within the swarm. Instead of clumsy manual links, this protocol uses something called semantic containment. What this means is your authority is quite literally written right into the prefix of your data payload. Think of it kind of like a corporate ID badge. If your name prefix matches the parent department, you automatically unlock the associated doors, with 0 external databases required. The Island Hats layer manages this functional authority by simply scanning the 26-byte ASCII text stored directly in the LNA-33X payload on-chain.
This is a massive leap, for sure, because it translates the brilliant concepts of the HATS protocol into self-executing, prefix-scanning authority. By fusing the global reach of ENS with the granular role management of HATS, ownership of an agent namespace token automatically grants you the authority to mint child shards. There are no manual tree links anymore. It's all happening natively, right at the foundational level of machine truth.
And that finally brings us to the edge of the network. Section 5. Physical execution and sweat. Bridging the semiotic bridge to the local edge.
This is where digital on-chain truth translates into localized physical reality. Enter the cheerbot. It's basically an unassuming physical switchboard that just sits and waits for verified state changes, and then translates them directly into electrical currents. Picture a little free open-source alternative to an Amazon Echo sitting right there on your desk. Inside is a Raspberry Pi. It reads that bit-perfect ERC-7827 JSON state we talked about. And when a valid update hits the chain, the cheerbot triggers physical GPIO pins, little metal prongs that immediately translate that code into real-world reality. It can spin a motor, flash a light, or make a sound.
This entire architecture exists to create what the sources viscerally call a record of sweat. It proves mathematically that real human horsepower drove the action, not just some automated script. Through cryptographic signatures, what the documents refer to as kernel sign, we can verify that an actual human pilot applied the intent, securely bridging the gap from the digital cosmos all the way down to the physical local edge.
All of this complex architecture distills down to one profound realization about the future of digital and physical sovereignty. As the sources state, ERC-7827 is not merely a token standard. It is the operating system for sovereign authorship. It is a defensive tool for creators to escape extractive systems and establish their own deterministic truth.
So, we leave you with this. In a rapidly approaching future flooded by automated machine slop, how will you verify and protect your own record of sweat? It's really the ultimate question we all have to face as we build out these next-generation deterministic networks. I highly encourage you to dive deeper into these protocols and explore what sovereign authorship could mean for you.